Reporting just within the last hour that Steve Bannon has been subpoenaed by the special counsel to testify before a grand jury investigating links between Donald Trump's associates and Russia. The Times, citing a person with direct knowledge of the matter, reports the subpoena was handed down last week. The move marks the first time Mr. Mueller is known to have used a grand jury subpoena for information, to get information from a member of Trump's inner circle. And the news broke as Trump's former chief strategist was behind closed doors already before the House Intelligence Committee this morning. We have the reporter who broke the story, the New York Times, Michael Schmidt. Michael, good to see you. What can you tell us about Steve Bannon and the Mueller subpoena?
Thanks for having me. Well, this was a bit unusual in this investigation. So far, every White House official that we've known that has gone in to meet with Mueller has done so in a less formal setting in his office. We've known of no other subpoenas that have been issued related to folks directly around the president, folks like Steve Bannon or folks like Reince Priebus or Sean Spicer. The thing here is that Mueller will probably allow Bannon to not appear before the grand jury. He'll probably let that go and will allow Bannon to come in and speak with him in his office. But what we don't really understand is that why did Mueller go to this measure? Why did he dial it up on this issue? The thing that's interesting about this is that the subpoena was handed down in the days after Fire and Fury came out. The new book, of course, about the West Wing that talks about how, quoting Steve Bannon, talking about how Donald Trump's son was treasonous to take a meeting with the Russians during the 2016 campaign, saying that the Mueller investigation would ultimately end up dealing with money laundering. So Mueller sees that book and a week later uses this subpoena on Bannon, which we found pretty interesting. Now, Bannon, of course, is up on Capitol Hill today, supposed to be testifying before the House Intelligence Committee about Russia's efforts to influence the election, ties between Russia and the Trump campaign. That's behind closed doors. We don't know what Bannon's saying, but he's still up there right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we asked Michael after the Wolf book came out was, is this just going to be great for gossip? Is it palace intrigue, or could it have any real-world impact? Now, as we also know, Robert Mueller has been very close-lipped. He runs a very tight ship in terms of his investigation, but the timing at least certainly seems interesting, as you point out, that it happened so quickly after there was this talk about money laundering.
Yeah, that was the thing, is that all of these White House officials in the final months of 2017 went in and met with the special counsel. They were interviewed by the special counsel looking at two primary issues, one related to whether the president obstructed justice, the other one related to the Russian collusion. And what was curious about that all along is that Bannon had not been one of the officials to go in. We didn't know, it hadn't been reported in the press that he went in. There had been no statement put out by Bannon about that. We knew of all these other folks that had gone in, but not Bannon himself. And as we came into this year, we sort of wondered, the White House is beating the drum that the investigation may be coming to an end. But it was sort of funny to think, well, is Mueller going to close this investigation and not speak with Bannon? Then the book comes out, Bannon serves with a subpoena. It looks like Mueller will probably allow him not to go before the grand jury, allow him to come in. But it's just sort of an interesting, curious move. And, the president's obviously very closely watching the Mueller investigation. And when he hears grand jury subpoena, I can't believe that's something that he's going to feel very comfortable about.
Yeah, definitely closely watching. Some people would argue he is obsessed. So let me give you one last question here, Michael, which is this. Look, there are other people, obviously, who could be perhaps also getting a message. Among the people going before House Intelligence, we know Corey Lewandowski, maybe this week, Hope Hicks potentially as well. What kind of message does this send about an escalation, about as if anybody really had any questions about it, the seriousness of the scope of the Mueller investigation?
Well, that's the thing, is we don't really have a great view into what Mueller is thinking. Mueller has not put out a public statement essentially since he became the special counsel nearly, in May of last year. So we don't really have great insight into why he did this or what he's thinking. We were just left with sort of legal experts to sort of speculate about it. one issue is that Bannon has been under pressure from the president. The president's lawyers have threatened Bannon with a defamation lawsuit. They've told him that they want him to retract his statements. So Bannon is under some duress from the president. Now, by getting a grand jury subpoena, Bannon can say, well, look, I got the subpoena. I have to go in and meet with him. There's no question about it. And maybe that gives Bannon some protection to go in and be as forthcoming as he'd like to be with the special counsel.
Michael Schmidt with another big, important story in the New York Times. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate you coming on the program so quickly.